And I'm joined today by Travis Hudson, Associate Supply Chain Process Engineer, and Desiree Valentine, Alliance Business Manager. Today they will be walking us through a program that they designed and executed here at BioConvergence that yielded some pretty impressive results, including a 99.7% excursion-free rate. After they present, we'll have a Q&A session, so please submit your thoughts and questions through the questions pane on the sidebar of your navigator. Also, I want to remind you that we will be giving out an Amazon $50 gift card and a complimentary workshop session to help our audience members easily implement these 5 steps within their organization. So watch your email for those notifications, which will also include a link to the recorded webinar for your future reference. Okay, to get us started off here with this discussion about improving temperature excursion rates, I'd like to pose a question. Pharmaceutical products pass through many vendors' hands between the time of manufacturing and patient use. What do you believe is the most common root cause of temperature excursions as seen in the pharmaceutical supply chain today? You can submit your feedback on the screen. So the choices here that you can select: 1, miscommunication between parties of the supply chain, varying standards of acceptable handling procedures, using the wrong pack-out method or packaging supplies, or other unforeseen delays. So we'll pause just for a moment here, and if you could, go ahead and respond to the poll. We'll tabulate these results. Looks like they're still coming in. We'll give it another few seconds here. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll and we'll put up the results here. So it looks like using the wrong pack-out method or packaging supplies was the most common one, but actually we're relatively evenly split amongst the 4 choices there. So we'll see how that plays out as we move into the webinar and hear the feedback from Desiree and Travis.
Thank you, Brent, for that. This is Desiree Valentine here, and Travis and I are very excited to share with you what we did over 2013 to improve our shipping program and reduce excursions and thus better protect products in the pharmaceutical supply chain. And to get started, I want to present to you what our challenge was. We're a small company with many clients of varying needs, and so our challenge was, how do we integrate all the components of our shipping program to improve the quality and create value for our clients? And for us, this happens to be external clients, but many of the partners we work with are part of larger firms that are working with many internal groups within their firms. So I think that what we did will, especially around communication and those sorts of things, would apply to internal clients as well. So a little bit about BioConvergence. We're a small company, and so we are very nimble. We're able to be innovative and flexible and implement change fairly quickly, and that's something that's been a great help to us. But it also has presented us some challenges as we looked at our challenges within the shipping program. One is that because we're a small company, we don't have as much buying power. So we weren't able to go to a logistics provider and have custom SOPs made for us. Also because of just the type of projects that we work with, it didn't make sense to have custom designed packaging as well. So in addition to that, we have 30 to 40 active clients at any given time with different projects, and the projects at different points within the development pipeline. Their clinical trials are in different locations. So we have these projects with so much variety and variation in between them, and so how do we have a shipping program that is consistent yet flexible enough to meet all the varying needs of all the varying needs that we have with our client projects? So this is what we're looking at, and so Travis and I sat down together with other members of our team at the start of 2013 and just looked at what we wanted to accomplish as we improved our shipping program. So one thing is we have some KPIs we wanted to improve. The excursion rate, of course, being a big one, and we also wanted to improve the partnerships that we have with our carriers and our clients. We wanted to do a better job upstream of getting information from our clients, and then a better job coordinating with our carriers in order to improve our metrics. So I'm going to turn the time over now to Travis, who will go through the 5 things that we did, and how we did it, and what we learned. And then at the end of that time, I will go over what our results were and what we found over 2013.
Thank you, Desiree. We'll get started with the first area that we looked at were our quality agreements. Of course, we had quality agreements in place, as many of you do, but we wanted to look at our quality agreements getting the visibility that they should be. Are they an actual working document? What we noticed right away is that generally a quality agreement is not pulled up and looked at until something adverse has occurred, and then we look at seeing who owns that, seeing who had the responsibility. We wanted to move away from that, like I said, get more visibility on those documents and make them a two-way working document. What's required not only of our partners and exterior vendors, carriers, but what they can expect from BioC, kind of a roadmap of what that relationship's going to look like. Included KPIs and metrics that we were going to track both on our partners and internally, set up regular follow-up periodic meetings to review those KPIs and metrics, and kind of outlined what would happen if we started to see a trend that was unfavorable. The main point of redoing the quality agreements was to provide that accountability on both sides, as opposed to just having an outward-facing document.
Yes, and one of the things that was surprising to us as we did this was how receptive different providers were to working with us on this. And what we really learned through this process is that just like there are clients for us who are an ideal fit and others who are not, the same goes for logistics providers. There were some for whom we're a very ideal client and others for whom we are not. And so we really kind of pared down some of the providers we were using to those who we really were able to see eye to eye with and get on the same page, starting with this quality agreement. And that was very important, especially as we went through this process, and Travis will speak to some of the things that we did after this and the subsequent steps. Those I think went much better because we took this time up front through doing the quality agreements to really figure out who our close and trusted partners are going to be.
Once we had those quality agreements in place and we knew kind of who we were going to be dealing with and which partnerships were going to be growing in the future, we had to look at how does the information flow from our facility out to those different carriers, different partners. Many of the partners had different ways that they wanted to obtain that information. Some carriers like to schedule through email, some use a phone call. Many have web portals where you'll go in and put in all the information. All of those are good. All of those work for BioC, but we did want to have one standard way that we would go about scheduling these. And what we created was what we call internally a shipment specification worksheet. Basically includes all the information for the shipment, any of the carrier reference numbers, special handling instructions, temperatures, the type of shipping solution to be used, qualification periods, when it was packed out, when it should be replenished or placed into refrigeration, who should be contacted in an emergency, basically any piece of information that anyone would need to carry out the shipment. That will go onto the carrier, so they have that. It'll accompany the shipment in some cases. And also internally, say the scheduler of that shipment's out for the day, we always have a record so anyone can pick up and check on that shipment at any time and have all the information required. The last piece of the worksheet is basically just a follow-up section to maintain that visibility on shipments, especially international shipments where it could be in transit for several days. Prompt the operators to follow up, record that date and the status of the shipment, so we've got eyes on that all the way through delivery.
Right, and this is just the first page. There are a couple more pages that go with it, and we actually got really good feedback from our vendors on this. They really appreciated having one thing that we would attach to their ordering system that would have everything included, and this was something that we really did in order to enable our partners to do their job. And it was, I think that any time that you're looking at a shipping program, it's important to not only look at what you want from your vendors, but what can you as an organization do to enable them, and this was a big step in that direction.
And just to let the audience know, whenever Travis and Desiree have mentioned this worksheet in other presentations, there's always been a significant amount of interest around the specifics of it. So in the follow-up email that you'll be receiving from this webinar, it will contain a link that will take you to the template for that specifications worksheet.
The next benefit out of this project was we have, as many of you do, and anyone that's fulfilling orders, and kind of an ordering system that our clients and customers can get on to request specific orders. There are links to different areas around our facility, SOPs and whatnot, document library. Out of this study, we realized that within our ordering system there were gaps in the information we were requesting from our clients, which would oftentimes mean that there had to be a follow-up call. So again, one of the unrealized goals out of this is that we were able to recognize those gaps and work with our IT department, and we're looking for the newest version of that system out this year, so hopefully that will increase the information flow from our clients to our internal group. The next area that we looked at, we talked about outlining what KPIs and metrics we would track against our internal group as well as our external partners. So we wanted to look at what we were already tracking. We were tracking some pretty good KPIs and metrics, but when we took a closer look, what we realized is that there were several gaps in what we were actually tracking, and that the information within those gaps would be very beneficial to perform any root cause analysis or effective trending. As you may be aware, tracking incorrect metrics can be as dangerous as not tracking metrics at all. You need to evaluate what metrics you're going to track in order to determine that true root cause, or if you don't have all the information, it could point you down a road that causes you to react incorrectly. You may end a partnership or end usage of a shipping solution when that's not actually the case. One example we have is if we were tracking, say for instance, a specific shipping solution to a specific region of the world with a specific carrier, with no mention of the operator that packed it out, we might miss a trend where that operator simply would require retraining, or if we didn't track the seasonality. If the shipping solution has a seasonal pack out, we might miss that we only saw those excursions in the summer, in which case we can continue to utilize that solution, just we might only utilize it in the winter and come up with a new solution. What you don't want to do is end partnerships and get rid of quality products for the wrong reason. And tracking those metrics completely will help determine those key root causes.
Right. There are kind of two levels of metrics. There are the metrics that are in our quality agreements that the vendors know that we're looking at. We track quarterly, and we have a good partnership and collaboration with them on improving those. But we needed a second level that we tracked internally that dove a bit deeper, like with some of the parameters Travis mentioned, as far as just even the route, the shipping route, who was packing it out, and those sorts of things. And that's really helped us identify the true root cause of excursions and then thus address.
And yeah, another important piece of that is we're all trying to mitigate risk in advance. I mean, having the right metrics and KPIs, you can realize that some of those trends in advance of an actual excursion. You can start to see increased days in transit or start to see issues with certain hubs or shipping solutions and quite possibly get in front of those prior to having any actual adverse effects. The next thing is, as Desiree pointed out, we are a smaller firm, so we're not going to probably have an international shipping group. We're going to have to gain the expertise that we can in-house, but it's just not feasible that we have a whole 20-man control center for international shipments and documentation specialists. We were able to do some things to improve our knowledge. We were able to bring some international shipping software in-house to help determine those country-specific requirements and generate that documentation. We were able to talk to a lot of our carriers and see what they would like to see out of us, see what would help them as far as getting shipments cleared and getting handling instructions across. One big thing that we learned is that we need to follow our vendors' processes. While it might seem better if you have a very important shipment going to a very hard to reach destination, it may make you feel good to contact your sales rep and let them know to put eyes on it. And while that may not be a bad idea, that shouldn't be the process for the way you schedule a shipment. However the partner is set up, you want to follow those channels. And with the shipment specification worksheet, like we talked about, we still follow their channels for scheduling. We still do business the way that they want to do it. But we wanted that internally, and we've worked that into their process. So now it's a seamless flow of information. When you can leverage their repeatable processes, you leave them in their area of strength, and you're setting them up to succeed. We also had to look at anything that we do and we send downstream through our partners. We need to be looking at how they're going to be able to handle it. It can't just be a good solution for us. It has to be a good solution for all partners in the supply chain. There's an example where we were able to utilize some of their shipping solutions that they're trained on. They have SOPs on. We were able to vet those, approve those for usage, and giving them shipping containers when it does need to be replenished or handled in some fashion as to refrigerate or whatnot. They already have SOPs in place. We're not handing them a solution that they need to be trained on or look at special instructions or have any questions. It's basically us learning that if we can change a little bit on our end, we can stop them from having to change a large amount on their end.
Mm-hmm. And they helped us quite a bit with filling in the gaps related to exporting to other countries, that we were then able to educate our clients on what they would need to have in place for a package to be imported into another country. And that really helped us, as you'll see in our metrics, with reducing the number of days in transit. We had far fewer packages be held up in customs and be delayed because of that.
And the last item that we looked at for this project that did not contribute smallly to the success was looking at the shippers on hand that we have. As Desiree said, we have many active clients, many in development stage, so we were faced with needing a qualified shipping solution for a vast number of payloads sizes, a vast number of shipping temperature ranges, and any number of qualification periods. So it's very hard to have that many solutions to be able to meet the demand in real time. But if you look at today's new emerging technologies and new materials of constructions, we were able to bring several new solutions on hand that could meet many of those demands. Again, many of those solutions also have improved handling Instructions easier for our carriers. A lot of the, for example, the new hibernation technology where refrigerated shipments can just be placed directly into the cooler, which was not the case in the past. A lot of those add to increased quality. Anytime you can ease up the handling instructions, you're going to go a long way to reduce excursions. By bringing all those shippers on hand, we were able to kind of be able to speed up the process. We don't need to search. We're confident in the solutions we have to meet any shipment request. And also, again, back to leveraging the vendor and carriers processes, being able to vet those solutions that we have. We added those to what we have existing in-house for use without actually bringing them on site, even increasing our range of options more.
Thanks, Travis. Before we learn about the specific results that came out of this effort, I'm curious, Desiree, was there a specific temperature range that was more problematic than others?
You know, it's interesting that you asked that question. Our experience, I think, is a little bit different than what you would typically find in the industry. When we've talked to our peers and gone to different conferences, there's a lot of focus on 15 to 25 right now, and that seems to be an area that's problematic for many reasons. And for us, that range has been, we've been really successful in that range. For us, it's been 2 to 8, specifically going internationally. And what we saw was there tended to be a difficulty with keeping the package warm enough. It would sometimes get too cold, below freezing. So for us, that was an area that we really focused on, and we're very pleased with the outcome this last year.
Okay, so let's go to the poll here a minute. I'm curious to see if that's been the experience of the folks that are on this webinar with us. So if you could respond here, what is the most problematic temperature range that you have seen in the industry? And we'll pause here for a few seconds and give you a chance to vote. Okay, looks like we've got about 3/4 of our listeners have voted here. So let me close down the poll and we'll take a look at the results. So looks pretty consistent there. 73% of the respondents said also that refrigerated was the toughest range, and then split about evenly between CRT and frozen. So very good. Let me close the poll, and we will move on now to hear about the results.
So, thank you, Brent. This is the exciting part of the presentation for us. We were able, so first off, some of these metrics are, of course, contained within 2013, and others compare 2013 to 2012 as a baseline. So overall, for 2013, we were able to achieve a 99.7% excursion-free rate. That problematic area I told you about of 2 to 8, we were able to cut the excursion rate within that category in half. So we were very pleased with that. We also were able to reduce the days in transit. We had a 50% reduction in delivery past qualification time. That was something we really wanted to focus on because we tended to see issues when packages required intervention. So we just wanted to take out that need completely, and we were able, through the things we talked about earlier with improved coordination, et cetera, to reduce the number of packages that needed that intervention. In addition, overall, we reduced the number of days in transit by 20%. So 50% reduction in those that got delivered past their qualification, but then just even a 20% reduction overall in the days in transit. So we were able to, you know, we weren't cutting it so close to that qualification time. We also, we did see improved coordination. Our clients are much better educated on what's needed in order to have a successful shipment. There's much less this urgency of get it out the door and get it out the door now. They really understand the need to take the time to get together all the necessary paperwork when you are exporting, especially. And our vendors, we have our couple of close partners that we work very closely with. We're very happy with the collaboration that we've seen in that area, and have a lot, you know, just a lot more security when we send something out the door. Finally, this cycle that you see here on the screen, we've really leveraged this, in which we've used the KPIs to identify areas of improvement and find what the root causes are for the performance issues. We work with internally, we work with our clients, and we work with our partners to address those root causes, and then we have seen our KPIs improve as a result, and the cycle continues, and we really have the mindset of continuous improvement. And so this has gotten us started off on a great foot, and the work continues.
Okay, so let me do a little wrap up here. To review those 5 steps, the first step here is to create clear expectations for both parties through the use of quality agreements. Second, capture better information through controls and tools such as the shipment specification worksheet. 3, track vendor metrics and identify key partnerships. 4, improve your own internal knowledge to leverage your vendors' processes. And finally, acquire the best shipping materials to extend the qualification period for your shipments. So with that, we got some time here. We can open it up for questions. Looks like there's a couple that have come in already while the presentation was ongoing. If you do have a question, please use your navigation pane there and you can enter that in. But we'll jump in here. One of the questions that came in here says, did you find that the shipment specification sheet forced you to ensure that you had all the critical shipment information captured prior to shipment? Travis or Des?
Absolutely, and I think that was that was one of the key benefits of it. It kind of came up as a checklist. I mean, like I said, we may schedule through email, we may schedule via phone call, and what we would end up seeing is, oh, well, I forgot to ask you for the pack out instructions, or oh, I forgot to ask you what kind of monitoring device are you using, and how long is that good for. Us having this worksheet, we can then go into the carrier's web portal, we can go call them on the phone, but we have everything there in a checklist before we get started so that we know what we're doing, we know we didn't miss anything, and the partner has all the information up front. So again, we're setting them up to succeed.
Yeah, and I would piggyback off of that, that it was, we included one of our partners in creating this worksheet and got feedback from them, and regarding if there needed to be additional information. And so this was really a tool to help them be successful. And if something like this is something your organization wants to do, I really encourage you to include your vendors in that conversation when you create a tool like this.
Okay, very good. Another question that came in, did you get pushback from vendors on quality agreements?
Absolutely. Absolutely we did. And we and that was for many reasons. Some have very set processes within their company for quality agreements. Some have like the form that you submit includes kind of a quality agreement for each shipment, and it's standard and set, and they're not really going to change that. And that goes back to when I talked about figuring out the right partnerships. And we really don't fault any of the vendors who were not able to have the flexibility to enter into the type of quality agreement we wanted. I mean, they have their business processes in place for a reason, and we really respect that. We were able to identify a couple of vendors who were more like us in the fact that they maybe are a little bit smaller, more nimble and flexible, and were able to work with us. And that's actually one of the great success stories I really like out of this is we had a vendor who we liked the relationship we had with them, but their metrics weren't good. And we were really, we liked their level of responsiveness. We liked that we could always get a hold of them when we needed them. We liked how they responded to problems, but we didn't like that the problems were there to start. And they turned out to be one of the better partners working through this, and their metrics improved so dramatically over this year, and we were able to keep them as a partner, and they went from somebody who was kind of on the line to somebody who is one of our closest partners now. And so that whole process really started with a quality agreement. They were the ones who were the most willing to engage with us on that, and it was a great experience for us through this last year with our partners.
Oh, that's great. There's a couple of questions here, very similar. What was the most surprising aspect of your project, or what did you find was the most significant learning as you went through this? So, one of you want to tackle that one?
I think for me, we'll let Desiree say what she thought. For me, as Desiree pointed out, being a smaller company, we're not going to get the attention. We don't have the buying power. I think it was very surprising to me the level of attention we began to get once our partners saw that we were going to this level to include our accountability and the quality agreements with them, being very clear with what was expected on both sides, creating the shipment specification worksheet to ensure that they had all the information, allowing them to do their job correctly. Again, it was extremely surprising. You would think that we had the buying power. I think once the partners saw that we were willing to go to this level, they were more than willing to accommodate and join the conversation. And I think at that point it went from being a purely transactional relationship to a true partnership.
For me, and not to be too, I completely second what Travis said, but for me, I was, very humbled by the outcome of the 99.7%. I did not expect that at all, and we were trying to benchmark in the industry, and we had a hard time finding, and so maybe that's the norm, maybe that's what people experience, but for me, I was surprised by how implementing these things that took some time and effort, but really weren't that groundbreaking. They're back to the basics, good things to do in your shipping program, and I was very surprised by the impact they had in a relatively short period of time. And I think that's really encouraging because especially for larger organizations where change can be a little bit more difficult, there are simple things that might be easier to implement that really can have a great impact on your program. And that's probably what surprised me the most. Okay,
thanks. Another question here. What was the result that made the biggest impact of BioConvergence? Can you isolate it down? I don't distilling to five steps here, but is there...
Which of the results had the greatest impact?
The question said which was the result that made the biggest impact. Maybe we could interpret that to say which step.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the 2 to 8 excursion rate drop and the overall excursion rate for the year. I mean, we were happy with all of the success we had in excuse me, all the individual areas. But obviously the key was to put all those pieces together and at the end of the day reduce that excursion rate.
And probably reduce the number of days in transit contributed quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
To that number going down. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see any other questions that have been that have come in here recently, so I think we'll go ahead then and wrap this up. Oh, hold on.
Do we have a late arrival?
Hold on here. Okay, there was one more question here that came in. So with regards to the 99.7% excursion-free rate, I guess what was the denominator and the number of shipments that were used to calculate that?
Is it 800
you have that
or
information?
600?
I think it was we were only calculating temperature-controlled shipments. It was around 600, give or take.
600, yeah. We do quite a bit of shipments that are not temperature-controlled for a specific client that's nearby, and we use a milk run truck and so a few, and then some other shipments outside of that. So this is just truly ones that are temperature-controlled that have a temperature monitoring device, and that was about 600 throughout the course of time.
Okay, very good. Well, again, I would like to thank both Travis and Desiree for presenting today, and thank you for each of you as listeners on this webinar. Remember to watch your email to see if you might be the lucky one who has won the $50 Amazon gift card or the 1-hour personalized consulting session. And remember as well that a follow-up email will include a link to the shipment specifications worksheet and the recorded webinar, so you'll have access to those resources as well. So again, thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.